Hi everyone, and you are welcome to this lecture, Exceptions Handling in Python. In this lecture, I'm going to define what an exception is, then we will see the available exceptions types. We will learn how we can handle exceptions using try, except, else. Also, I will show you how we can handle specific type of exceptions using also try, except, else. And I will end up this lecture by a quick summary. So let's get started. First, let's start by defining what an exception is. Exception is an event which occurs during the execution of program and disrupts the normal flow of program statement execution. In other words, we can say that exception is a weird situation that the Python interpreter cannot understand and cope with. Usually, when a Python script raises an exception, this exception should be handled from your program, otherwise the program execution is terminated directly. Exception handling is quite important, especially if you want to publish your program in a production environment. In a situation like this, your program could serve a lot of customers, and if your program stops, this means you start to lose some money, and you don't want to do that, so you have to increase the reliability of your program by handling the exceptions. Also, exceptions handling is quite important to send some log messages about your system, so you can know where the bugs and then you can fix these bugs easily later on. Now let's see together the exceptions types. The first type is exception. We can say that this type is the father of all exceptions in Python programming language. From this type, we have other subtypes of exceptions, like for example, we have stop iteration, and we see this exception when we use next function with a generator after we extract all the items. So once the generator becomes exhausted, we will get stop iteration. Also, we see together zero division error, and this exception happens when we divide a number by a zero. We could face exception like import error, and this happens when we try to import a module which is not available. Index error, if you try to use index which is bigger than number of elements inside a collection. And we have a lot of other exceptions that you will be familiar with when you use Python programming language in your job. Now the question is how we can handle the exception. In other words, how we can catch the exception in order to handle. In order to do that, you have to use try except statement. As you note here, I say try except else, and after try except else there is colon, and it's quite important, otherwise you will get syntax error. After try we have one statement or multiple statements, and look here I have indentation. So by indentation, the interpreter will understand that this block of code belongs to this try statement, and this block of code will belong to else statement. Also, you have to know that else is optional, so you can use only try except, it's not a problem, or you can say try except else. Now let's say how try except works. It's quite simple. Usually, the code that you want to run in a production environment, for example, you will set here within a try, and the code that will handle the error, you have to put it here within except. So, the interpreter will execute your program by running the code here within a try. Now, if any exception happens, directly the execution will stop here and will be transferred to except, and the execution will start from the first statement within except. You have to know that the content within else will be executed only if there is no exception happens within try. So, if I run the code here, this block of code without any problem, then the block of code within else will be executed. Otherwise, it will not be executed. Also, you will note here that I just say except, which means if any exception happens within try, then this except will catch this error. Sometimes, how I want to handle a specific exception is different from the way that I want to process another exception. In order to do that, I'm going to use try except statement, but I will use except as many times as I want, and I will specify what is the type of exception that I want to handle. So I will say try, run this block of code. Then, for example, if you find an exception from the type 1, which could be zero division error. So if only a zero division error here happen, I want to execute this block of code. Then, except for another exception, then except for another exception, and so on until you reach to the exception end. So keep in mind, when I set the exception type here, the code here will be executed only if this type of exception happens within try statement. And also else is optional, and don't forget the block of code within else will be executed only if there is no exception happen in the block of code within try. Now let's move to PyCharm IDE in order to see some code examples about exceptions handling. The first example that I want to share with you is the following. Assume I have a equal to 4 divided by 0. Then I want to say print a. If I run, directly as you see here, I got 0 division error, simply because I'm dividing a number by 0. Now let me handle this exception. So I will say try, the code that I want to run within try body, then except. Then I will type the code that I want to execute if any problem happened within try. So I will say print, there is a problem. Then else, print, everything is okay. Let me run now. As you see here, I got now a message which is there is a problem and there is no error happens. Why this? Because when I say a equal to 4 divided by 0, print a, within try, once a problem happen here, directly the execution will start from here. So now let's check. What if I put here 2 and run? You will see the result is 2, and now also the block of code within else has been executed. So to understand what happened exactly, I run this code, it works without a problem, then a print statement works without a problem, therefore the body of else has been executed. As I mentioned before, else is optional, so if I comment this part and run, as you see I got 2, which is the result of this print statement, and nothing has been printed from else, and there is no error because else is optional. Also, in this example, you can see that using except statement, I am able to handle any type of error. So here, for example, it's 0 division error, but you can try any type of error, it will work. The question now, how can I handle a specific type of error? So for example, if there is a 0 division error, I want to do this and this. But if there is, for example, index error, I want to do this and this. So let's see how we can do that. I will remove everything. And now I will say, let me assume that I have a equal to 1, 2, 3, b equal to a, 0, print b. If I run, I will get 1, which is the first item within a. Now if I replace 1 or 0 by 10 and run, I will get, as you see here, index error. Why index error? Because I'm trying to access to the location number 10 in a list which has only 3 elements, so I get in this case index error. Now let's try to handle this error. So I want to say that when you do this error, I want to print a statement that this error is index error. So I will say except, and because I want to handle only this error, so I will say except index error, then print this error is index error. Now let me run. As you see here now, this error is index error has been printed, and I'm able to handle this type of error. Let me say now, if I say c equal to 4 divided by 0 and run, oops, I got an error, which is 0 division error. Why this happened? Why except is not able to cope with this exception? Because simply this except it's only for index error. So when this type of error that happens here happens again, this one or this part of code will be executed. Otherwise, it's not. Now how to handle 0 division error also? So I will add another exception. So I will say except 0 division error, and then I will print 0 division error. Run. As you see now, the error disappeared and there is no problem in my program. So when 0 division error happen, I come to here. When index error happen, I come to here. You have to keep in mind that because 0 division error happens before index error, this part has been executed. Now if I change the location of this part of my code and I put here and run, as I see right now, it's index error. Why? Because index error happens before the 0 division error. You can add at the end of try except one except without specifying the type of error, and this would be for any other type of error that could occur and you want to handle it like any other error. So you want to say here, for example, this is an unknown error. Now if I run, again I will get index error because here I have index error. Let me now make another mistake. So let me say import x, and I know there is no module, it's name x. So if I run, as you see, I will get this is unknown error, which is result of this print statement. From this example, you can see that I haven't used else, and this is not important because else is optional. But if you want to set else, so I will say else, print, no problem. Now let me run. As you see here, this is unknown error. So I will remove this. I will put 0 here and I will remove this part. Now this simple code will work without any problem, as you see if I run. Because now it works without any problem, you will note that the content of else has been executed. So to summarize, when you use try except else, first of all, the content of try will be executed. If any error happens, we will move to except part. If I specify the type of error that I want to handle according to the error happening here, if from this type, this part of code will be executed, otherwise we will check the other type until we reach to except if there is no match between any one of the previous error types. The body of else will be executed only if there is no problem within try. But if there is at least one error regardless what is the type, the body of else will not be executed. And that's all for this code session. Now let's recap what we have learned in this lecture. First of all, exception has been defined as an event disrupting the normal flow of the program's statement execution because the interpreter cannot deal with. We see that exceptions should be handled, otherwise the program execution is terminated directly. In order to handle exception, we use try except statement in which the business code that I want to execute will be written inside try. The exception handling code that usually I use it to handle the error will be written within except block of code. That's all. Now please refer to exceptions handling in Python appendix, in which you will find all the errors available in Python have been summarized. Also, please refer to the file exceptions handling in Python challenges, in which you will find some challenges to practice what you have learned in this lecture. Thank you very much for your time, and if you are available, join me in the next lecture.